Something kind of interesting could be happening right now in WWE. The question I have for all of you today is WWE pivoting their title plans right in front of us? Seth Rollins came out of Money in the Bank as the winner. He's holding on to that big green briefcase. But the question is, who will he cash in on? The World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Undisputed Championship? On the Raw side of things, we had Gunther defeat Jey Uso, and kind of a shocking twist here, becoming a two-time world champion, ending Jey Uso's 51-day reign as champion. Now, leading up to that title match, there was a lot of moving pieces, right? And Seth Rollins' involvement in everything was pretty heavy. It really felt like Seth is just going after that world title, even teasing things between Gunther and Seth. But then after Seth wins Money in the Bank, we start setting up things for Night of Champions between Cena and Punk, and Seth Rollins makes his way out to kind of flaunt and tease his big old green lunchbox. Kind of like he's saying, I have a green lunchbox. You don't, therefore I better. So at Night of Champions, it is going to be CM Punk versus John Cena one-on-one. But what was interesting when they initially set this up, this match between the two of them, Rollins teases the cash in on Cena, but he hasn't yet teased the cash in on Gunther and the World Championship. And coming off of that Gunther Jey match, I totally had it pegged that whoever was going to be Money in the Bank winner was going to tease a cash in or try to cash in on Jey and Gunther to get that title. Seth seemed like the obvious choice to win Money in the Bank based on the whole story they are telling right now and leading up to that match. But we didn't get that at all. And maybe Seth will do another tease and tease Gunther with it in like a week or two. But maybe it could be something different. Maybe WWE is pivoting Seth not towards the world title, but moving him over to the John Cena program and what could be happening there involving Cody Rhodes. And the long-term plan beyond Cena's title reign. Cena has less than 19 dates left. And in that time, we are going to be getting R-Truth versus John Cena, CM Punk versus John Cena. And even as we saw on SmackDown, Cody Rhodes is involved in the title picture. Heck, even LA Knight is throwing his name out there. Randy Orton is in the mix. But even with all of those multiple players in there, looking and gunning for John Cena, it still kind of feels like it's Cody Rhodes. And that's the plan for WWE, potentially even at SummerSlam, so that they can start the arc and the short-term arc of getting John Cena back as a babyface before he officially retires. But does he do that without the belt? I still kind of hold out belief, just partially, that Cena could potentially retire with that championship. I think it'd be a lot more interesting. I do believe that Cena is going to get through R-Truth. He's going to get through the title program with CM Punk at Night of Champions. And from there, it feels like either at SummerSlam or even Survivor Series, there's matchups with Cody Rhodes for the championship. We could then see a cash in done by Seth Rollins. Seth could immediately cash in on Cody after Cody reclaims that title from John Cena. Or he could even make it a triple threat like he did against Brock and Roman at WrestleMania. Seth mentioned in his promo another heist that he's going to do. And it was iconic to have Brock and Roman going at it at a time where Roman was really not that over. People were really not into this whole match. And you had Seth Rollins come in at the very end of WrestleMania and shake everything. We could see something similar because you have a heel, a big bad guy in Seth Rollins. You have a still bad guy in John Cena, despite a lot of cheers. I don't know that you want Seth Rollins cashing in on bad guy John Cena. Could be something to motivate John Cena to become a good guy, that he didn't see it coming, that he needs to change his ways, that he didn't have everything figured out. Because if you look at his promo on SmackDown that he was cutting with CM Punk and to the crowd, Cena was talking a lot about how he's ahead of everybody. He knows exactly what's going on. He's done all of the math and all the equations to know exactly what needs to happen, and all of the moves are pre-planned and premeditated. A cash-in is a surprise to the equation, something that Cena may not see coming. So it is possible that they do a Seth cash-in on Cena. However, that ends up kind of baby facing Seth Rollins, or maybe not. Maybe the crowd is just, they're loving heel John Cena and they just like him no matter what. But if Seth cashes in on the WWE title, I think it's more compelling than him cashing in on the world title. And the reason for that is if you look at the World Heavyweight Championship in the landscape, it is pretty hot. It's got a lot of big players in there, but I do feel that if Seth gets that world title, well, okay, then what? He cashes in on Gunther, gets it from Gunther. All right, then. Who's he feuding with? What's the big plans then for this giant group of Seth, Paul Heyman, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, guys that you are trying to elevate to big main event status. And within the context of like stories and characters, why would the character of Seth Rollins be so eager to get the world title when clearly the John Cena belt, the WWE, the Undisputed Championship, is the big boy, is the one you really want? Why does it sound like Macho Man? But it is the big belt. It's the one that Roman held. It has the lineage. Seth's character probably should want that one. And Paul Heyman, in character, probably would want to motivate Seth Rollins to cash in on that title. And like I said, if he cashes in on the world title, I have no doubt it would be a great, huge moment, but it does feel a little bit as a fan, a little been there, done that, where, okay, he takes it from Gunther. Maybe Punk would feud with him, but Punk feels like it's more appropriate he's feuding over on SmackDown with John Cena, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes for that championship. So does Seth then just keep getting in a program with Gunther and Jay, Sami Zayn, someone else they want to elevate? It doesn't feel as consequential, does it? But also, if you look at WWE Championship, if Cody beats Cena at SummerSlam or Survivor Series and gets the belt back and he's triumphant and he has defeated evil John Cena to get the belt he lost at WrestleMania and Cody can go on for the rest of the year, does it also kind of feel like been there, done that? Cody, I know, is top merch seller, biggest babyface for WWE. He is their quarterback. He is their champion of champions. Of course, Cody is going to get the belt again, but does he need it? Would the fans be excited that Cody wins? I think so. I think a huge segment of fans would be happy to see that, and if they can tell a really cool story with it. But I also feel like we've done this. We've had Cody as champion. He finished his story. He went through all of the heels that he possibly could as champion to get to John Cena and have the match at Mania 41. I don't know if we need another repeat unless they can come up with something really compelling. And that's part of the issue I have with Cody as champion, is WWE's job, or lack thereof, of building other talent up to be credible challengers. It feels like on that side of the title, it's Cena and Cody, and that's kind of what they've been focusing on. Now they're mixing in Punk. Now they're mixing in Orton and a little bit of LA Knight. And I hope that's the case so they can continue to build up more people around the belt, because that's what's been so good, in my opinion, on the world title side. And we could be in the middle of that shift right now, because we are seeing Punk challenging to Cena's title and what we saw laid out on SmackDown. So it could result in Seth cashing in on Cody Rhodes. But this is also where I think the draft for WWE is not going to happen this year. I love a good draft. I love it every year. Even if it's just kind of a dullard, I still enjoy the whole process of it having a one night thing where you don't know who's gonna go on which brand, bunch of shakeups, title swapping brands sometimes, but not always. Right now in WWE, we are seeing more people cross shows where they were technically on a certain brand, Raw or SmackDown. Now we're seeing more overlap with people where they are crossing over almost on a weekly basis because it fits with the story they're telling. And I'm okay with that. Do I like having split brands and even split dedicated PLEs like we had in the 2000s? Yeah, I kind of do, because it makes each brand feel unique, different, if they looked unique and different, but they don't really all the time, and if they were all built equally, but that's not always the case. We've had some great call-ups from NXT. We've had Stephanie and Julia and Roxanne recently all come up, and they did all this without a full draft. And I think that because a lot of existing talent are all intermingled and intertwined in one story or multiple, that a draft really just doesn't fit right now. And because of that, I think that a lot of people just wouldn't end up moving across brands because it wouldn't make much sense, or they'd all be lumped together and just shifting from red show to blue show. So then we would all complain on the internet that the draft was boring. So therefore, if WWE would ignore the brand loyalty, Raw, SmackDown, for the sake of the stories, then you could see some interesting things take place. If Seth wins the belt from Cody, the feuds then really open up for everyone. And leading into the fall, Survivor Series, to the new year with the Royal Rumble, and ultimately WrestleMania 42. Yes, we are looking that far ahead, ladies and gentlemen. But wait just a darn minute here. What about that world title? Seth was hunting for it for so long. That was the focus. That was the goal. If they pivot Seth away from the world title to the WWE title and he gets that, the world title scene also opens up to be a lot more interesting, unique, and maybe refreshing. One theory that I have is you get Seth going for the WWE title, and on Raw, you have Braun Breaker going for the world title. Because it opens things up, if Seth is not going for that world title, why wouldn't Braun Breaker be going for that? He's not at the mid-card level. He's at the bodyguard level, like a J&J Security, but he's more so getting elevated to the top of the card. And so why not have him going after Gunther in the world title? If WWE really wants to dominate their programming with Seth's group as the big prominent force across both shows, and they want Braun Breaker specifically to get more of a push to make him a bigger star, a run with the world title would do that. And for Seth, if he cashes in and he's your WWE champion at SummerSlam or at Survivor Series because he beats Cody Rhodes at the cash-in or pins Cody, you could get a match at WrestleMania between Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes one more time. When Cody returned to WWE, it was Cody versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Cody was the mystery opponent. That led to their giant feud and the Hell in a Cell with the pec tear. The return of Cody Rhodes after injury, going to win the Royal Rumble, off to WrestleMania 40 to finish his story against Roman Reigns. But doing that with night 1 in the tag team match with Seth Rollins. Night 2 of WrestleMania 40, Seth Rollins sacrifices himself, acting as the shield for Cody Rhodes, taking the chair shot from Roman Reigns for Cody. Fast forwarding to WrestleMania 41, Seth turns on everybody and aligns with Paul Heyman, and here we are today. Seth looking out for himself and not wanting to help Cody Rhodes anymore. The cool thing about having Cody versus Seth, where now Seth is on top with the title that Cody wants to get back again, there are so many more obstacles for Cody to overcome. And that's where I feel like he, as a babyface, as a character, really can shine. The odds being stacked against him. Cody having to go through Paul Heyman verbally on promos like we've seen in the past, where they are excellent. But you can also have Cody having to take on Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, all to get to Seth Rollins at the very end of the road. This to me would be way more interesting in WrestleMania season if you're doing Seth versus Cody, and it's not just endless promos week after week. One of the negative criticisms I have of Mania 41 in the build for Cena versus Cody and for the triple threat was a lot of promos, a lot of talking, particularly Cena versus Cody, because they weren't going to have a match together or a tag or anything else where they're going to get really physical, other than some Crossroads and AAs, but nothing else leading up to Mania 41, where it was just more and more promos. This would get Cody to have to get a little more physical every single week. But what about Punk? CM Punk. If Punk's ultimate goal now is to get the WWE Championship and it ends up on Seth Rollins, you have a baked-in story that you've been building for years. Punk versus Seth, night 2, WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. That is a big headlining match. Heck, you could even do Punk versus Seth versus Cody. Paul Heyman in the corner of Seth Rollins. You have all of the animosity and friction you've seen over the last 2 years between Cody and Punk. Seth being in the middle of everything and having beef with everyone. Seth as champion could be a great way to close a lot of chapters. And specifically the chapter with CM Punk, because since his return at Survivor Series, they have been building this. And yes, we've had one-on-one matches of Punk versus Seth, the Raw Netflix debut, the steel cage match, but that big PLE, that WrestleMania match that they were presumably going to have before until Punk got injured, they haven't done that. And they haven't done it with the title. Punk can then get his revenge on Paul Heyman, finally win the championship, potentially, but it closes that huge chapter of Punk and Seth. But there is one other possibility, one other option for Seth Rollins. As I wag my little finger, I'd like to turn it this way and ask you guys if you can subscribe to the channel and hit a like, because we're trying to get to 50,000 subs by SummerSlam. That one other option for Seth Rollins is Roman Reigns. All things being quiet right now with Roman Reigns out of the picture, taking a curb stomp, getting taken out by Seth and his group on Raw after WrestleMania. Tribal Chief is not around. He is going to make that return at some point. And of course, he's going to want to get that revenge on Seth Rollins. Seth could cash in, beat Cody or Cena for the belt. Seth could even continue his feud with Cody Rhodes to Survivor Series, to even upwards of the Royal Rumble. But Roman Reigns could potentially be the ultimate challenger to Seth Rollins. Because I don't know about you, if done right, WWE could tell an incredible story of Seth and Roman. Rewind to Mania 40 with the tag team match they had, and the Night 2 main event. Before that, they've had Royal Rumble, where it was Seth in the Shield gear going one-on-one against Roman Reigns, and that ended in a DQ. And then obviously we keep rewinding the tape to the Shield days, the breakup, all of it. You could have this culminating story at Mania 42 in Las Vegas, once again, Seth versus Roman for the WWE Undisputed Championship that is on Seth Rollins, with Paul Heyman in his corner. With Roman Reigns also only having a few WrestleManias left because he's gone on record to say he's not going to be wrestling forever. He's got a couple of years left with WWE. WWE, Triple H, Creative, I think they need to take advantage of those final WrestleManias they have with Roman Reigns. I don't think we're going to get that final boss Roman Reigns match that people were clamoring for a couple of years ago. And I don't think we need another Cody Roman match. The Seth Roman match one-on-one, I think, is the match that they still need to do. So with Roman Reigns having only a few WrestleManias left, the final boss is just nowhere in sight. He would probably show up, wouldn't he, to try to soul suck Seth Rollins or Roman at the same time, maybe? That's nasty. But this could be their last opportunity to finish this story.